Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz McGill, the Dean of the Stanford Law School, and I have the honor of officially welcoming you to this joyous day, this day when we graduate the class of 2018. This year, we graduate 283 students, 193 JD students, 74 LLM students, 12 JSM students, and 4 JSD students. Let me first, and most importantly, welcome the family and the loved ones of our graduates. We know you come from near and far, including many of the dozens of countries that our graduates call home. We are happy you are with us today, but more than that, we are grateful for everything you have done to make these graduates who they are. We thank you for supporting them, and we thank you for sharing them with us. They are passionate, brilliant, wise, inspiring, funny, skilled, kind, charming, and memorable. It has been our privilege to teach them, and we are so proud to call them Stanford Law graduates. I also want to thank today our devoted, hardworking staff who never, ever get enough credit for all they do for us at SLS. Those of us on the front lines of teaching and research, our twin missions, we get a lot of glory, but our staff get much less of that. Today, I particularly want to recognize those who devote themselves every minute of every day to our students. Dean Steele and her team in Student Affairs, Jason Estachio and his team in Facilities, Beth Williams, our incredible librarians, Diane Chin and her staff in the Levin Center, Susan Robinson and her team in Career Services, and Faye Deal and her admissions team who brought you all here. I am personally grateful, and we all are as well. So graduates, with your loved ones here, and these folks who've worked so hard to make your Stanford Law experience a good one, I know you didn't get here alone. I know you didn't get here alone. And I know you didn't get through this alone. So please stand again and take a moment and thank your family and the staff at Stanford Law School. So let me end my welcome by saying to the graduates that I hope you're feeling gratitude for those who've gotten you here today, but I hope you feel more than that. I hope you feel some measure of the pride that your family and your loved ones and we all feel about you. Basically, you rock. You have mastered incredibly hard things. You have learned and advocated all over the world, from Beijing to Afghanistan to The Hague, and in federal and state courts in the United States. You have learned to become a lawyer in big and splashy cases and in small and important ones. You have negotiated brilliantly against your peers. You have solved problems for your clients. You have created organizations, hosted events and conferences and speakers, and you have thrown yourself into this community in ways that have forever changed us. So yes, feel gratitude, but feel pride as well.
Dean McGill, distinguished faculty and staff, among the best in the world, our loving families who are here and those watching us from afar, our friends who are family, fellow graduates, JDs, JSMs, you know you want that, JSDs and LLMs, collectively referred to hereinafter as the rock stars of the class of 2018. Welcome and good morning. Please brace yourselves for a lot of references about food, the kind that we have cooked in our homes for the past 10 months. I hope you found them delicious, as we'll be collecting payments later for food consumed since September. Seriously, how do you capture into minutes of spoken words a part of our lives that was so etched into memory, shared with awe-inspiring people from 33 countries and speaking 21 languages and more if you count dialects? How do you capture 10 months of engaging discussions on the various exquisite teas over quiet and melodious rhapsody of the Japanese tea ceremony with Chinese or Taiwanese tea leaves? or reflections over classmates, family traditions, and history, some as old as 1,000 years, over hot and spicy Korean ramyeon noodles. Or the limitless fun nights of singing over karaoke, not without its bickering on who ought to have the mic next because their song is still number 8 on the queue. Or the dancing, Fiesta Latina style. Parts 1, 2, and 3. How do you capture months of seemingly ordinary meal times and culinary adventures with home-cooked North African delights one day, to Thai basil chicken the next, to Indian curries, to Chinese dumplings, to Singaporean chicken rice? The list could go on. And all these downed with the best pisco in the world. Chilean or Peruvian? That still remains controversial. Or downed with, as the Europeans would have it, any European wine. How do you capture the many memories shared with people you thought were once strangers, but now have become your family? There is simply nothing like it. I tried to be poetic about it, go somewhere, face nothing but the vastness of the Pacific Ocean, but words did not seem to flow easily. Nothing. I went some other place, surrounded by trees, to organize my thoughts. Nada. One very early morning, I decided to go alone around campus, around Crown Library, and I understood why I could not put something into words at any other place. I had to be at a place where for us, time stood still, committing 10 months of it when we forgot all worries from our home countries or how much we miss our loved ones, and where the warmest of memories were made and shared with you, rock stars of the class of 2018. Many amazing stories have already been told and enshrined in the history of this university, one of the best universities in the world with a top-tier law school. But the school, the physical structure, while one of the most beautiful campuses I have ever been, is just that, physical structure. Stripped off of its students biking around, studying under the California sun, laughing or engaging in deep conversations about religion, cultural differences, legal traditions, to the seemingly mundane question of where to have our next meal outside of the usual Treseder or meal plan fare. It simply is a collection of buildings with well-manicured lawns, physically beautiful but empty, no soul. To me, what gives this university its soul is the people and the relationships, not just networks, that were built, that made this experience nothing short of our favorite, overused, descriptive word: amazing. At the outset, we knew we only have 10 precious months together. Because of the short time we knew we could spend together, something wonderful was bound to happen. No time ought to be wasted. I'd like to call it, in all childlike wonder, magic. Magic not in the sense of turning ribbons into bunnies, but that sense of magic that we feel when we fall in love, not necessarily in a romantic way. It's the kind of falling in love when new worlds are open to us as we also open our own to others. As we build new friendships with people with vastly different culture from the one we are accustomed to, and nurture them as much as we can, with as much as we can muster to give, with time spent over what must have already been hundreds of cups of coffee, hundreds of kilos of barbecuables, thousands of miles spent on road trips, or air miles flown crossing the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Mediterranean, and across the Americas during term breaks. If that is not the beauty of diversity, I don't know what is. If magic is not what happens when we take inclusion of various cultures as a natural course of things, I do not know what will. So many things have happened in 10 months. Babies were born, congratulations. Degrees are earned, congratulations more. And 60 kilos of rolled pork bellies were roasted. Congratulations for the weight gain. We acknowledge we could not have accomplished much by ourselves. It takes a village to understand living with someone in the legal profession. With that, I wish to honor, on behalf of the rock stars of the class of 2018, our parents, partners and spouses and friends who are family. To our spouses and partners who cross the Pacific, my husband nonetheless, the Atlantic from east to west coast almost on a monthly basis, or the spouses and partners who took a year-long leave at their jobs to support their not necessarily better halves, or the spouses and partners who at the same time took their own graduate studies in other law schools and had to commute an hour or so every day to the other law school, or traverse the East Coast school to the West Coast almost every month, just so you could show your support to your spouse. Thank you. Thank you for everything. It also takes a village to nurture someone who attempts to enter or to stay in the legal profession. With that, I wish to honor, on behalf of the rock stars of the class of 2018, our highly esteemed professors. You may have no idea how we, every time access is open for class registration, are in nothing short of agony when choosing classes to take for the quarter. Almost always we'd end up 25, 30 units per quarter in our initial study plans, in between moments of quiet reflection whether to register for the maximum and even beyond what is permitted, and hope for the best to still have a life outside the classroom. We are grateful of how accommodating our professors are when we reach out to them to speak of a new idea, a new project, or simply to chat about anything over cookies in your offices or buffet spreads in your most lovely homes. Most especially, I also wish to honor our advanced degree program directors and teaching fellows. Most of us are from the outside of the US, navigating the intricacies of a legal education system that may not be at all familiar to some of us. Yet, you guided us in every step of the way in our studies and even went beyond the call of duty to extend your personal care for our well-being. Thank you very much. I end with much sadness, knowing that this will be the last time we may see each other in one place together. Some of you are already leaving next week because of the World Cup. At the risk of any copyright infringement, let me end with a little something from Miss Morissette. Well, life has a funny way of sneaking up on you when you think everything's okay and everything's going right. And life has a funnier way of helping you out when you think everything's gone wrong and everything blows up in your face. Things may not be the way you planned them to be today, but it will be tomorrow. Things may be how exactly you wanted them to be today. It may not be tomorrow. It's daytime today here in California. It's nighttime on the other side of the world. Your career or your plans may be slow to progress today, but you'll be surprised of its quick pace tomorrow. Respect your own pace in life, whether it be quick, slow, or in utter glorious stillness. And when you reach that stage, when you are in a position to give back and lift other people up, please do so without hesitation. We are remembered not so much by our accomplishments or by what we have set out in our CVs, but by how we let other people feel at that moment when they open their world to us. You'll be surprised how much you will receive in return in whatever form or substance. Be a giver. Be a giver of your time, of your resources, of your efforts, of a kind gesture, of compliments, of praise, of a smile. And give when it hurts, even when it hurts, despite that it hurts. You'll be surprised just how much you reap will certainly be more than what you have sown. And while you continue to figure out things on your way to be in that position, keep calm and rock on.
All right, what's up? Want to first of all start by thanking the faculty and staff. We are forever indebted to you, quite literally. There's so much debt. Like, you should look into that. It's just a lot. Dude, it is such an honor to be here at graduation, because I actually didn't want to graduate. I was talking to my friends before, you guys, my friends, and I was like, man, I could do another 3 years at Stanford easy. But then 3 weeks ago, I received an email from the registrar that said, hi, Omar, I did an audit of your graduation requirements, and you are 1 unit short of graduating. Best, the registrar. There was no PS. That was the end of the email. I'm like, there's got to be more to it than that. It can't be. And in the fear that I had that I might have to do another year, I decided I was ready to graduate. So, this is a big moment, I guess, for you guys and for me also. And I think that I was thinking about my dad over 30 years ago. He had to graduate from his undergraduate school, Western Michigan University, in around 2.5 years. And his brother had to graduate in like 3 years with a master's. And they're incredibly poor. In between times at Western Michigan, they would go to Toronto to stay with their other brothers, where they'd work at machine shops to try to make ends meet. And they were supposed to graduate that winter, and they didn't want to tell their family members about it because they didn't have enough money to afford to drive back to Kalamazoo for just a graduation. But my dad was really proud of his brother, and his brother was really proud of him. And they were like, all right, we have no money, but let's try to do this anyways. I still have access to my old office. I'll sleep on the desk, you sleep on the floor, let's do it. And so these two Pakistani guys with just a 76 gas station card, which you can only use at a 76 gas station for either peanuts or gas, decided to make the trek anyways to celebrate each other's graduation. And they went there, and it was the dead of winter in Michigan, and it was very cold, and their air conditioner and their heating stopped working. So they wrapped themselves in blankets, and we're driving, basically. And they were so cold, and the windows were so fogged up that they had to stick their heads out of the window, like Ace Ventura style, in order to get anywhere. And finally, around Detroit, their car broke down. And it was a pretty rough neighborhood in Detroit, Detroit. And it was late at night. They had no money. They didn't even have a change to use the payphone. And so they panicked. But my Uncle Nader thought, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call somebody collect using that phone book right there. And we'll just look for a Pakistani name. The way one does. And we can agree that this is not enough of a plan. So they looked through the phone book, and they looked for Khan, which is the most common name that they could think of, and they found a man named Shakir Khan. And so they called him with no particular plan in mind. And Shakir Khan answered, and my Uncle Nader was like, Shakir Khan, it's Nader and Gazanfar Qureshi from Pakistan. Remember? And Shakir Khan was like, yeah, Nader and Gazanfar Qureshi. And they're like, hey, our car broke down. We just happened to be in Detroit, long way from home. And would you come pick us up? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll come pick you up. And so it's snowing in Detroit at the time. This man drives into Detroit, and he picks up my dad and my uncle. And he takes him back to his apartment. And he cooks them an amazing deal. He and his wife cook them an amazing dinner. They treat them like royalty. They're super kind, and they're really hitting it off. And Shakir Khan, as the night progressed, starts feeling guilty. And he's like, you guys are amazing, but I got to admit, I don't remember you from Pakistan. And my dad and uncle admitted that they lied. But they told him that the reason that they were doing this was because they were going to graduation. And Shakir Khan and his wife were so proud of them for what they'd achieved, so proud of them for sticking together through it all, that they offered their master bedroom, their only bedroom in the house, to them while they themselves slept in the living room. The next day, Shakir Khan took them to the mechanic, got their car repaired, gave them money, and wished them on their way. He said, I only ask for one thing in return. That is that when you arrive home, you call me so I know that you're safe. And to this day, they have never called that man. What kind of monsters are you people? How could... I was talking to my dad at dinner the other day. I'm like, Dad, don't you feel guilty? He was like, not until you just brought it up now. I didn't... So first, thank you, Shakir Khan, if you're still alive. But perhaps more relevantly, my dad and my uncle were younger people then than I am now. And I think it took a great deal of courage and love and respect for one another to even attempt the journey on behalf of each other, to keep working at a machine shop and enduring far greater than I've ever had to endure in my education to make this life for me. And all the strangers who helped along the way, giving them hope where it seemed like no hope could be found. And I know that in this crowd and the parents back there are thousands of other stories of incredible sacrifice, incredible care, of you prioritizing and enduring for your children and for your future. We would truly be nothing without you. And it's because of you that we're able to be here today, and we owe you everything. So please, a round of applause for the parents and family. All right. So they've endured a lot. What about you guys? Not really. All right, look, none of my classmates want me to say this, but there is something that I have to admit. This is a great accomplishment, graduating from Stanford Law School, a tremendous accomplishment that was given to you by Faye Deal when she admitted you 3 years ago. It is hard to do well at Stanford Law School. It is really hard to fail at Stanford Law School. Dude, in order for these guys to fail us, they have to write a letter to the administration justifying their failure. Do you understand? These people have to do homework because we failed to do homework. It is an unbelievable feat. But that's the thing about Stanford Law, you know? We go through a lot. Like last weekend, Katie and Courtney, they threw us a yacht party. And like on the way to the party, the bus broke down for like 10 minutes. I mean, it didn't delay the boat trip, but that was not the best thing, you know? What we're saying is our struggle is sort of like your struggle. We're all the same. No, but the truth of the matter is there's a reason why life is so good. There's a reason why there's not a threat of failure. Because the Stanford Law class of 2018 is the greatest group of psychopath overachievers ever assembled. They need no fear. Yeah, give them a round of applause. They're insane. They're insane. One person in our class is the head coach of Stanford lacrosse and a professional lacrosse player. Same dude. Not two different guys. Some people have been published in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Stanford Law Review, the National Review. All just in the past 3 years of law school. There are people in that group sitting over there who have worked tirelessly to get people out via the Three Strikes Project here at Stanford Law School to fight against corrupt and racist laws. So give them a round of applause for that. There are people here who've argued in front of district courts and circuit courts on behalf of immigrants, on uniting families, keeping people in this country, who fought for religious liberties and religious rights, and have also fought at the Supreme Court level for whatever it is you guys deal with. You would be hard-pressed to find a more exceptional group of people than my classmates in the class of 2018. I'm very proud to be one of you. Now, of course, overachieving is not enough, because you got to be cool too. We have to live here. And Stanford prides itself on community, which is not helpful, all right? Because tons of communities are horrible. Like, for example, look at the comment section on YouTube. There are horrible people out there. But that's not this community. This community is substantially different. So I occasionally do stand-up comedy, and and one time I was in the finals of this comedy competition. And before you're impressed, bear in mind that this is a comedy club in Sunnyvale, California, that is attached to a tire store. All right? This means nothing to the world. No one should support me doing this. It's a huge waste of time. I should have been studying. However, in the final round of this competition, over 60 people in the class of 2018 came to watch me at this comedy club. That's more than a third of the class, and it's made even more amazing, it only seats 78. And relevantly, it's the way that you decide the winner of the competition is by popular vote. So I walk up there, do horribly. It's a total disaster. But I'm like, I'm still gonna win. I brought out a third of the class, come on. And I didn't win. And a few weeks back, I went to so I do that club occasionally, so I went to the club owner, and I'm like, hey, how did I not win? Oh, she's like, you won by a lot. I just figured you had enough going for you. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you go to Stanford, you'll be fine. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. It's honestly pretty good. But there's other ways in which the community has been enriched. Matt Ball, what a rock star. I love this guy. By the way, I could name a billion people here. But when he was in the army, he met a guy named Kismat. And Kismat was his translator in Afghanistan. And Kismat was supposed to be able to come to the United States due to his service to the country, and due to various bureaucratic restrictions, he wasn't able to. And our classmates got together and helped Matt write letters to senators, representatives, to fight to bring him to this country, and they succeeded. I think that this is a testament to the fact that when things matter, and even when things don't matter, like at a comedy club attached to a tire store, this class and these people will always be there for you, and they will always support you, and it is such a tremendous honor to know you. There is one thing to worry about, though. There's one thing going forwards that is a problem, and that is comfort. One of the privileges you get when you attend a law school like this, with faculty like this, at an institution like this, is that there's a lot of convenient things to do. There's a lot of prestigious things to do to impress people like this. There's a lot of things to do that will make you a lot of money. But what can end up happening is that you get so comfortable taking the next logical step that you don't actually ask what it is you want out of life, what it is that you actually care about. And part of the reason for that is just risk, right? I get it. We're all facing a lot of risk. It's much more certain to take the well-paying path. It's much more certain to take the prestigious path. And it's way riskier to try to pursue something different, try to pursue your ultimate dream. It's better and easier to defer. But I argue that it's much, much riskier that in 30 years we could look back on a life spent achieving things and realize that we were failures. Not because we didn't attain our goals, but because we never even bothered trying. And so you are the most amazing collection of people I'll probably ever have the privilege of knowing. You are smart, you are driven, you're like, there's just a vibrancy to you people, and you have a vision of not only the world, but also of yourselves right now where you sit. And so if I have any request from you guys, and of course I know nothing, it's this: don't defer your dreams. Don't wait until it's more convenient. Don't try to delay thinking about it. Think about it now. And think about yourself today, the expectations that you've set for yourself, the achievements that you've made, and remember this: you are brilliant, you are capable, and when you get out into the world, you're going to have doubts. And whenever you do have those doubts, when you feel insecure or inadequate pursuing the new path, remember this: you'll always have a home here at Stanford, and you can always call one of us, your community, your friends, and your family. So do not defer your dreams, Stanford Law School. I don't think that I'll ever meet a group of people that I love as much as you guys, including my family. Just kidding. And so I wish you much more than luck. I wish you happiness, and I wish that you will fight fights worth fighting. Thank you.
Move the flags back a little bit.
All right, I'm still up here, which is abnormal. It's because I got one more thing to do. All right. So I've confused people into allowing me to present an award as well. So it's my tremendous honor to present the Dean's Award for Excellence in Service to Karen Denk. All right, so I met Karen, we're in the same section, so I met her the first week of law school. And I remember we were in torts class, and there was a very complicated question Professor Mello asked, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. And then Professor Mello cold calls Karen to answer the question. I'm like, looks like this one's in trouble. And then she answered. You ever hear an answer so good that you're like, I hate you? You ever hear an answer so good that you have spite for the person who did it? That's how I felt towards Karen. I was like, we will never be friends. I don't want that much competence in my orbit. As it turns out, I was wrong. She later became a very good friend, even though she, more than any other person that I've met, has told me that she's wanted to kill me over like 20 times in the past week. Karen, a lot of people, so I talked to a lot of people about this speech before thinking about it, and most people think that Karen is a robot or a machine. And as one person clarified, yeah, she's like a robot, but like a Westworld one, you know, like a really advanced robot who's really capable. And there's a reason why people think that about Karen, because the amount that she's able to achieve during a day surpasses what one could think was possible. This is a person who was the senior articles editor of Stanford Law Review, and when things were going wrong, her fellow Law Review board members were happy to pile some extra work on her, and she did it without complaint. Is that right, Law Review board? She's a person, we worked on this project for end-of-life decisions for elderly people, and she went above and beyond and set up a system in which we would go out to nursing homes and elder care facilities and provide them with access to legal documents so that way they can write down what they want for the end of their lives. And it helped many people save tons of money, but also get their actual wishes upheld. And I know to some of you, it's unsurprising that Karen Ding is interested in ending people's lives. But the point is that she made a big difference. She was one of the leaders of the Social Security Disability Project, which helped provide people access to government funds when they were injured and when they were hurt. Karen is also the president of the Stanford Public Interest Law Foundation, where during our first year, she ran the most successful auction up to that point, raising money for people who are going into the public interest, who are trying to help others, and who don't have access to the same resources that a lot of our other classmates have. Karen she's been a mentor in basically every organization humanly possible, and her leadership in the school, I think, is best summarized by a couple of quotes I got from people who worked with her on the Youth and Education Law Project Clinic. In that clinic, they help people with special needs get the education that they need, and they help advocate on behalf of children. One person anonymously said to me that Karen is near psychopath level effective. I would like to have her on my team on everything. I love Karen. And as somebody who's had Karen on my team for a lot of things in my life, I have to say this: there is no better friend, no more caring person, and no more thoughtful leader than Karen Ding. So it is with great pleasure that I present the 2018 Dean's Award for Service and Excellence, or for whatever. I'm going to present. All right, let's get that again. We got to get momentum going. She deserves a lot more than I'm giving her right now, all right? So, it is with great pleasure that I present the Dean's Award for Excellence in Service to Karen Ding.
Oh gosh. Whew, okay, I'm gonna move this down. Wow, thank you, Omar. I was a little apprehensive about what you might say. And thank you so much to all of you, faculty and staff, but most of all, of course, my classmates. It's just an incredible honor, and I'm totally bewildered, as you can see, to be standing in front of you. So thank you. You know, when I first came here 3 years ago, along with many of you, I actually really didn't think that law school would be the right path. I, as a hedge, in fact, took the GMAT right before I started, just in case I needed to bail and try to apply to the business school. But you know, somehow very quickly, this place has felt like the most right thing and right place to be that of anything I've ever done. And that's really because of the very special culture that Omar talked about, a culture that makes this place, that makes Stanford as good as it is great. And, you know, I think about the last few years together, and there have been a lot of changes that we've seen in our world, and a lot of those have been hard to face, I think, for many people. But I have been uplifted every day by the privilege of being in part of this community, to be amongst such incredibly engaged and thoughtful and diligent people is a real gift, and it fills me with hope for the future that we're all trying to build. So thank you once again to all of you, the extraordinary people that make Stanford what it is. To be singled out like this today is well beyond what I deserve. So this award for me will be a reminder of what we can be, and I hope I live up to that. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi. My name is Katie Takokshin,
And I'm Courtney Cronin.
and we are the class presidents for the class of 2018 3Ls. So we are up here to present the last two awards of the graduation ceremony. It is my privilege today to present the Staff Appreciation Award to our wonderful law librarian, Marian Miller. So some of you may not know this, but Marian the librarian, as we call her, was not always a librarian. During college, Marian discovered that she had a true passion for skydiving. And after she graduated, she actually became a professional skydiving instructor, which, believe it or not, led her to conduct the first ever legal research that she did. She was researching the regulations for base jumping in national parks. Finding that she loved legal research, Marian decided to become a law librarian. She achieved her master's in library sciences from UNC Chapel Hill and her JD from the University of Chicago Law School. After graduating, she worked as an associate at Fenwick & West, just down the road from where we all sit today. She loved the work at Fenwick because, as Marian says, during your first 3 years as an associate, you're a law librarian for the partners. But Marian wanted to find a place where she could continue doing the legal research that she loved without getting sidetracked by arguments about deposition scheduling. Luckily for everyone here, students and faculty included, the day before Marian began her job applications to become a law librarian, the position opened up at SLS. She arrived here just 1 week before the class of 2018 got on campus for 1L orientation. During our time at SLS, Marian served as both our law librarian and our legal research instructor. She taught and worked with members of our class as the research lecturer in our 1L classes and has continued to work with both faculty and students through the Mills Legal Clinic, the library, and many other SLS programs. As one of my favorite authors says, when in doubt, go to the library. That is particularly good advice for the class of 2018 because the library is where you can find Marian. As future lawyers, we know that legal research is essential to the practice of law. No brief is filed, no motion is argued, and no case is won without it. And just as legal research is essential to the practice of law, Marian Miller is essential to student and faculty life at Stanford Law School. Marian brings genuine joy, enthusiasm, and excitement to legal research. She brings warmth and kindness, as well as the best chocolate chip cookies you will ever taste, to this law school. She is endlessly patient, giving, and helpful to everyone who crosses her path. Our graduating class is so lucky to have learned from Marian, and it is a true honor to present her with this award today. Thank you.
here. You guys mean the world to me, and it has been so much fun to get to know you and to help you figure out this whole law school thing, which is a lot sometimes, I know. And at the same time, you've been helping me figure out this librarian thing. Believe me, it's really tempting to give you some research tips right now because, like, I've got everybody, and you're looking at me and I have a microphone. But I'll stop. I won't do that. But I do want to make sure you know that I am your librarian for life. And what that means is whether it's next week, next month, a year from now, 10, 20 years from now, if you're feeling stuck, whether it's research related or just kind of stuck in life, or if you just want someone to send you some cookies, reach out. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. It has really been amazing to see everything you've done for yourselves, for each other, and for this community. I am so proud of you. Really, I am. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Now I have the great privilege and pleasure of introducing the recipient of the Hurlbut Award, Professor Lisa Willett. This award is given to a professor who strives to make teaching an art. And I honestly cannot think of a better way to describe Professor Willett's approach to her role as a professor. I think one of my classmates put it best. Over the course of our academic careers, we have all encountered many professors who are amazingly brilliant, and many who are amazingly effective lecturers, and many who are amazingly dedicated mentors. But it is incredibly rare to find a single individual who is all three at once. Professor Willett is that rare individual. I knew I wanted to take a class with Professor Willett before I even started law school. Sometime in the summer before 1L, I was obsessively researching Stanford and discovered a law professor summer reading list. I expected to find some tort outlines, or at least something by Scott Turow, and instead was excited and surprised to see one of my guiltiest of pleasures on the list, Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, a highly nerdy fan fiction based on Harry Potter. Professor Willett was the professor that put it on the list, and I knew I couldn't wait to meet this SLS professor with fantastic taste in fiction. That spring, I took Intro to Intellectual Property and discovered that Professor Willett was everything I'd hoped for and more. Her dedication to teaching is evident from the minute you step into her classroom. She uses every teaching tool imaginable and takes the time to explain why, based on research into teaching techniques, that particular tool will be most effective. She also takes the time to make sure her class is fun and engaging. She takes advantage of the interesting problems presented by her subject, intellectual property, and uses examples from contemporary life, like a cute animated short, or even draws hypotheticals from our own lives. I think we all remember that time she used a clip of our classmate Sammy performing with his a cappella group on the sing-off. I can't tell you how much of a gift that was to all of us. The video and the memes it produced became a fixture of our Facebook page. Finally, she is a dedicated mentor. I have countless examples that I could share to show the extent to which Professor Willett not only cares about her students, but prioritizes them. She does everything she can to get to know us, whether it's in her office during office hours, over pumpkin bars after a hike of the dish, while she's belaying us at the Arriaga rock climbing wall, or giving feedback on a research paper for something completely unrelated to her class. I have no doubt that this effort that Professor Willett puts into teaching and mentoring makes a difference. You know, I found that when you ask a lawyer why she chose her practice area, she might tell you that it's because she had a great professor once, a professor that was so passionate it made her fall in love with the subject matter. Personally, I'm confident that the future will see a lot of great intellectual property lawyers coming out of Stanford Law School. And so it is with great excitement and appreciation that I present this award to Professor Lisa Willett.
Thank you, Courtney, for that generous introduction. And thank you, graduates, for the privilege of addressing you today as the recipient of the Hurlbut Award. I assume it's only because you didn't have the option of choosing an amazing stand-up comic, but I really am overwhelmed by this honor, particularly because I have such deep respect and affection for so many of you. You, the class of 2018, are an impressive group. In your time at Stanford, you've not only learned to speak the language of the law, including jargon like supplemental jurisdiction or collateral estoppel, you've also learned to use the law. You helped write a will so a Native American couple's tribal regalia could be preserved by their grandchildren. You helped a prisoner protect the right to observe a religious holiday by winning an appeal in the Ninth Circuit. You won a ruling that the government wrongfully withdrew endangered species protection for the bi-state sage grouse. You've advanced the frontiers of knowledge with Stanford Law Review notes on classified state secrets, false confessions by people with intellectual disabilities, anti-competitive patent settlements. You've used your already impressive advocacy and leadership skills in everything from writing op-eds to founding new organizations to advance dialogue and seek justice, both in the broader community and right here at Stanford Law School. I think there are few obstacles that a team of Stanford Law students can't conquer. You're pretty much the Avengers of law school graduates. But as the Supreme Court wrote in a recent patent law case, quoting that well-known source of legal authority, the Spider-Man comics, in this world with great power, there must also come great responsibility. I love being a teacher of intellectual property law. We get the best fact patterns. And yet giving you any advice on how to use your legal superpowers responsibly is a daunting task. What can I say that you haven't already heard before? And more importantly, how can I teach you anything here without interactive clickers and handouts? You already know all the graduation speech tropes. Follow your passion, don't let others define you, take risks, wear sunscreen. They're all good advice, especially that bit about the sunscreen, but platitudes seem inadequate in this moment when you are stepping out as some of the world's most qualified law school graduates into a world that desperately needs some superheroes. The real world might not be in as bad a shape as the world at the end of Avengers: Infinity War, which I won't spoil for the 10 of you who haven't seen it, but the time you spent at Stanford has not been easy. In any recent month, you could open the papers to read about another school shooting, another incident of racially charged policing, more allegations of sexual assault by prominent men across the political spectrum, more records being set by the changing climate, and escalating global tensions and threats to national security. Each month also seems to bring a new story about increasing polarization, echo chambers, and lack of interest in underlying facts, making it seem ever more difficult to address these collective challenges. I would love to be able to stand here and confidently point you toward the best path for using your impressive legal skills to confront these problems. But standing here in front of you, for my last time in my role as teacher, I'm going to use the one phrase us teachers dare use only as a last resort. I don't know. Still, I decided that my uncertainty is itself a useful message. Having a Stanford law degree doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to change your mind. And it's okay to keep asking the important questions, since what your Stanford degree does mean is that each of you has an impressive toolkit for answering them. You have the tools to recognize that the real world isn't neatly divided into good and evil, to construct the best arguments in favor of those who might initially seem like villains, and to seriously reflect about what you will use your superpowers for. I'm still learning these lessons. I started at Stanford not long before most of you. Just as some of you surely worried that you were an admissions committee mistake, I worried that I was an appointments committee mistake. Don't tell all these folks behind me. My physics PhD gave me a lot of skills that are pretty unique on a law school faculty, but I wasn't sure that the ability to make a carbon nanotube transistor would be all that useful in front of a classroom. I was convinced that you would start asking me your brilliant questions. I would have to admit, I don't know, and you would curse your bad luck for having a professor who was just a few years out of law school. And then you did, in fact, ask brilliant questions, and there were plenty of times when my answer was, I don't know. But nothing calamitous happened. In fact, I think part of why you chose me for this honor today is that I was always honest about what I didn't know, and then I followed up. Sometimes I had to admit that the answer was embarrassingly simple. Sometimes you asked about obscure doctrinal puzzles, and I explained how I unraveled them. And sometimes your questions turned out not to have satisfying answers, which is a useful learning experience in itself. When I was a budding physicist, I thought scientists had already figured out most things about the world. But I learned in physics graduate school that many basic questions still lack satisfying answers. I remember being asked, as part of my qualifying exams, to explain how an individual cell, like an amoeba, crawls across a surface, and to design an electrical measurement technique to learn more about crawling cells. At first, I was daunted by the idea that I could add anything to the quite complete explanation of cell motion that I was sure biologists already had. But it turns out that there is a lot we don't know. After more hours immersed in the biology literature than I would like to admit, I was able to figure out what the current scientific models were, what evidence there was for them, what questions remained, and how one might use some of the tools of physics to help fill those gaps. Now, crawling cells might seem like quite a digression in a law school graduation speech, but I think that recognizing how much uncertainty exists in the world of natural laws makes it seem less surprising that there should be so much uncertainty in the world of human-made laws. Sometimes there aren't answers, and sometimes the answers need refining in light of new evidence. Indeed, I think a defining characteristic of a scientist is a willingness to change your mind in the face of contrary evidence, and that this is a virtue well worth embracing. I want you to take a minute right now and ask yourself, what is something that you have changed your mind about, and why? I don't mean something like what you want for dinner or which class to take at the beginning of a quarter. I mean some significant fact about the world. If we were in the classroom, I'd make you write it down and then chat with your neighbor about it, but at least take a minute to really think about it. Maybe some of you changed your mind after learning something from one of us. Perhaps you were convinced that the trend toward integrated healthcare will save money and improve patient outcomes, and then you became less certain after reading Dan Kessler's work on hospital competition. Perhaps you thought that adversarialism was an entrenched part of American legal culture, and then you learned from Amalia Kessler, no relation, that it is actually a modern invention. Perhaps you believed the hype that information disclosure and checklists are cheap and easy fixes to problems of administrative discretion. And then you read Dan Ho's research on the inadequacy of posted restaurant grades and food safety inspection checklists. I used to believe that the solution to public polarization on climate change was better science education. And then my own research with other scholars convinced me that more scientifically literate people are actually more polarized. I suspect many of you have also helped change each other's minds through the many discussions you've had on campus. Late night chats in Munger, Federalist Society debates, LLM students sharing details about other legal systems, students of color sharing their experiences of law school this spring. You are not just amazing students, you are also amazing teachers. And I've had students tell me that what stood out most from their Stanford education was the things they learned from their peers, both inside and outside the classroom. I got to see some of this in my classes on intellectual property, which is a somewhat unusual area of law in that there aren't deep partisan divides and high-profile lawsuits against the current administration. And at first glance, our IP system seems to be working pretty well. We keep getting new patented technologies like life-saving medicines and cool smartphones. And under our copyright laws, we have a wealth of creative production, ranging from self-published fan fiction to the latest Marvel movies. Plus, IP cases give us plenty of fun class props, like the parody Louis Vuitton dog toy, the Chewy Vuitton. But, as noted by my favorite Marvel Avenger, Black Panther's genius little sister, Shuri, just because something works doesn't mean it can't be improved. Those of you who've taken an IP class with me know that there's remarkably little credible empirical evidence on even the simple question of whether stronger IP rights actually encourage research investments. And I think this uncertainty and your lack of deep prior beliefs about the right answers made IP a wonderful area for us to have real conversations about the effect of legal institutions, ranging from the impact of the blurred lines copyright case on cultural appropriation to the impact of international patent treaties on the millions of people who die every year due to lack of access to essential medicines. Some of you told me that our class discussions caused you to change your mind about the effect of IP on the issues you care about, and that appreciating the magnitude of the big picture empirical problems help you recognize how much good you can do by tackling little issues and getting them right. And I hope you will continue to take this willingness to discuss difficult topics with open minds to other areas of law that may seem even more intractable. I know you can do this because I saw it happen in my home this spring among those of you who came for our discussion group on science and the law. Our group included scientists and non-scientists, conservatives and liberals. But even with some opposing views on polarizing issues, you were willing to admit that you didn't have all the answers and to listen to each other with respect. My favorite session was when we discussed nuclear energy. You were initially divided between those who thought it should be subject to less regulation and greater investment, including to address climate change, and those who thought that the health and environmental risks were unacceptably high. And during our discussion, a number of you changed your minds, even if the shift was just from having a strong view of the right policy to acknowledging doubt and uncertainty. But I hope you won't stop there and use uncertainty as an excuse for inaction. Admitting doubt doesn't mean that you shouldn't worry about it, or that your job as a lawyer is just to come up with arguments to support whatever your client wants the answer to be. As you've learned from your time at Stanford, being a lawyer means more than having an arsenal of arguments. It means joining a profession, and one with a deep commitment to public service. You've already demonstrated an amazing dedication to public interest work, with more students graduating with pro bono distinction than for any Stanford class in history. Yeah. But the public service of lawyering is about more than pro bono hours. It's also about approaching all your work with integrity and a commitment to getting things right, whether you're ensuring the accuracy of your representations to a court or figuring out what aspects of a deal are actually most important to your client's interests. As Stanford Law School graduates, you are as well positioned as anyone in the world to be contributing to the ongoing development of the legal system. And based on the many of you I've gotten to know, that makes me optimistic about the future. So, as you receive your diplomas on this glorious California summer day, I hope you will take the time to reflect on what entering the legal profession really means to you. Who is going to look up to you as their superhero? What will you do with that privilege? What will you do when you encounter a question to which you don't know the answer? As I've told many of you, one of the best parts of teaching is getting to revel in your students' successes and to pretend that you had something to do with it. And my colleagues and I can't wait for each of you to come back and make us feel like we did. So thank you again, and congratulations.
Thank you, Professor Willett. It is now my great privilege to present the degree candidates for the class of 2018. Will the candidates for the Doctor of the Science of Law please stand? Gilat Bachar and children. Maria Jose Cordero Salas. Sarah Poltz. Arm Tangniran. I will now present the candidates for the degree of Master of the Science of Law. Luis Bergoya Alvarez. Juan David Camacho. Se-U Chen. Akancha Dubé. Zhaoxing Jiang. Yagishe Kirakosian. Santiago Pardo Rodriguez. Hyjin Park and daughters. Okay. Kriti Sharma. Omar Vasquez Duque. Amy Chauchu Zhu. Charles Chiang Cheng. Sung-un Grace Cho. Yasuaki Desai. Barbara Cabrera Espir. Alina Ganson. Shangmi Han. Gvansa Karanadze. Amp Kitiyarak. Bruna Lawant and children. Zhixing Liu. Christian Lutov. Yuta Mizuno. Kanchanadam Parvatisam. Gunhang Piktokin. Patricia Posada. Astrid Montero de Carvalho Guimares de Lima Rocha. Rodrigo Andrés Velázquez Rosales. Kevin Andrew Woolwick. And I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That was those were the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws, Corporate Governance and Finance, and we are now going to the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws, Environmental Law and Policy. Guillermo José Aldunate Fernández. Fabio Ardilla. Taehuk Choi. Yanting Feng. Mohit Kuptanjani. Camila Mariño Venegas. Fiorella Monge. Manuel Muredu. Hungse O. Juan Antonio Remulla Oposa. Diego Pachas Perez. Felipe Osa Parot. Yodi Andy Pan. Manasvini Raj. Antonio G. Riojas Paras. Jan Tiles. I will now present the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws, International Economic Law, Business and Policy. Kadambari Chinoy. Earl Joyce Rivera Dolera. Catarina da Costa Freitas. Yotaro Haruta. Hidehiko Hokoi. Woo-jae Kim. Siddhant Kumar. Akawat Lauren-Siri. Heymin Lee and daughter. Luo Jie. Michael Mahmood. Luis Alonso Navarro Garcia. Arturo Oropeza Casas. Jingyi Pan. Ru Shui Jamie Pang. Marcia Cristina Dere Torres Fernandez Pulquerio. Diego Ramos. Daniel Schwartzel. Tomer Traeger. I will now present the candidates for the degree of Master of Laws, Law, Science, and Technology. Artur Apazov. Thais Lina Aragao Onaga de Carvalho. Kabir Darshan Singh Chaudhary. John Engelin. Masao Fujino and daughter. Yixing Gong. Luis Inostroza Sobrevilla. Jorge Gabriel Jimenez Barillas. Sunghoon Andrew Lee and daughter. Ria Malik. Maxine Afra Minter. Elias Muleman. Ann Oksala. Nora Oyarzabal Oyarnarte. Daniela Pardo. Nicole Rechi Aun. Desai Neha Reddy. Xing Shao. Rika Watanabe and her soon-to-be baby. Wensi Yu and Sons. I will now present the candidates for the Doctor of Jurisprudence. Faris Akrami. Kristina Alexeyeva. Laura Nicole Allen. Javier Jose Alvarez Oviedo. Shannon Galvin Aminirad. Abhay P. Aneja. Omid Muhammad Anvar. Ashwin Aravind. Joseph Thomas Aronson. Matthew Nolan Ball and baby. Brian Christopher Barron. Brittany Lee Benjamin. Jonathan Edward Barry Smith. Chris Best. Stephanie Berndorf. Rachel Buchever. Yvette Borja. Nicole Elise Bronneman. Daniel Bulevsky. Victoria L. Cadiz. Elizabeth Charisse Callahan. Sophia Antoinette Carrillo. Daniel Chow. Hannah Marie Chartoff. David Chen. Nicole Chen. Michael J. Clegg. Melissa Cornell. Courtney Cronin. William Jared Wapipa Crum. Ifyang Kara Dampha. Kirsten Dedrickson. Joseph DeMott and Johnny. Karen L. Ding. Andrea Donahue. Gemma Cecilia D'Onofrio. Emily Michelle Doyle. Brenna Janine Field. Savannah Fletcher. Drew Flood. Aaron S. Forbath. Anna Gamble. Matt Garcia. Matt A. Getz. Alexandria Gilbert. Sarah Gilmartin. Shelley Goldie Gimmelstein. Benjamin Gloger. Zachary R. Glubiak. Juliana Marie Goldrosen. Samuel B. Goldstein. Lauren Beth Gorodetsky. Eric Green. William Caleb Griscom. Angela Wu Guo. Benjamin Haas. Michael K. Halper. Catherine Pauline Harris. Anya Amalia Havriliak. George John Jordan Thomas Aquinas Hayward. Congratulations. John Thomas Hazinski. Adam Klein Hirsch. Elliot Higgins. Carolyn Height. Ryan Hollander. Michael Hoosher. Will Horowitz. Nathaniel Arthur Shea. Jolie Huang. Leah Plower Hubinger. Megan Zielinski Hulse. Janessa Marie Ingram. Lauren Nicole Jackson. David Kahn. Jessica Kapustiak. Brian T. Karalunas. Catherine Kelsch. Donna Kim. Michael Komorowski. Rami Kuja. Charlotte Elizabeth Krem. Benjamin Patrick Lee. Morgan Lewis. Ray Lee. Tiffany J. Liu. William Edmund Ash Little. Jeffrey Yuanlong Liu. Mingshu Liu. Jacob Lundqvist. James Francis Mack and Sons. James Patrick Mahan and kiddos. Lloyd Stephen Marshall. Dennis Martin. Samuel A. Martin. B. Matthew McConnell. Rebecca Mears. Kelsey Merrick. Haley Milner. Jillian Nicole Catterhagen Mills. Erica Simone Miranda. Catherine Marie Mladenich. I'm so sorry. Nina Louise Monfredo. Joseph Neil Montoya. Allison Morse. Catherine Kaiser Moy. Paige Mailstein. Miles Muller. Rachel Ama Neal. Kevin C. Wynn. Anne Southworth Niehaus. Edward Scott Nimitz. Jordan Elizabeth O'Rose. Michael Pangruck. Robert Paris. Camille Elise Peoples. Francis Joseph Pensabene. Juan Pablo Perez Sanjimino. Sarah Catherine Perot. Kristen Phillips. Julia Phillips Roth and Larry. Samuel Pokros. John Lawrence Polanski and Warren. Adrian Hunyi Pan. David Popkin. Omar Gazanfer Qureshi. Tara Melody Rangchi. James Rathmill. Joseph Evans Reed. Daniel Rakert. Jason D. Reinecke. Jean Elise Richmond. Daniel Rios. Claire Elizabeth Riva. Charles Edward Talmadge Roberts. Ryan Roberts. Elena Alejandra Rodriguez. Nathaniel Foyer Rubin. Martin J. Salvucci. Samson Joseph Schatz. Dylan I. Schur. Max August Schoening. Shane Sapini. Si Shen. Yiren Shen. Vincent Shu. Dennis Shurive. Brian Shea. Brant Silvercorn. Lillian Smith. Kevin B. Soter. Maya Spitzer. Julia Sprangers. Meghna Sridhar. Rachel Rose Sir. Catherine Ann Takakjian. Fiona Mahone Theobald. Shizuka Marie Tiernan. Tori Tilton. Kelsey Turner Townsend. Sean Michael Turner. Gregory Van Buten. Yarborough, and Haven. Jonathan York. Jessie June Yu. Mary Yiyue Zhao. Lane Zura. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 2018.
You know how Omar said he kind of hated Karen? I don't really like Omar that much right now. I don't want to follow Omar, so the one thing I'd say to you is never follow Omar in the future. I know it feels like it should be over, but there is actually one last official act. That is the dean's charge to the class. Some last official words before you go on your way. Just a few words, I promise I'll be short. Before I do that, let me repeat what I said at the beginning of this joyous event. To the family and friends who made our graduates who they are, thank you for sharing them. Thank you for supporting them. It's been our privilege to teach them. We're proud to call them our own, and like you, we cannot wait to see what they do. To the graduates, my charge is encapsulated in a short, easy-to-remember phrase. It's on you. I know this doesn't sound like a positive message. This phrase is generally used when there's likely to be an upcoming disaster and someone wants to make very clear whose fault it will be. You want to bungee jump off a suspension bridge? You want to run with the bulls? That's on you, man. I mean it more positively than that. This is a graduation. Let me first get some pesky lawyerly caveats aside about what I don't mean, tell you what I do mean, and offer just a couple thoughts about why you're ready for this freedom and this responsibility. It's on you most assuredly does not mean that you can completely control your life. Some things are in your control, of course, but many things are not. I think you already know this. You know what it took to get you here, and it wasn't just you. Even if you think it was just you, you can't believe that you did anything to control the extraordinary talent, the tip top of the distribution of talent that you were born with. You didn't get here by yourself, and going forward, you're not going to live, grow, thrive, or even suffer all by yourself. Let me also state something painfully obvious and yet so easy to forget. You will not control what you encounter in the world. Let me repeat that. You will not control what you encounter in the world. I'd repeat it, but I think you get the point. There's actually a lot of pretty bad stuff. There's hurricanes, there's fires, there's economic collapse, there's crime, there's disease, there's death. When we focus on what the world can unexpectedly throw at us, we tend to focus on the bad, but there's also a lot of good. Beauty, nature, love, art, music, poetry, human connection, knowledge, fabulous weather, ice cream, puppies, and yes, Alexandria, karaoke. The universe is going to serve you up many difficult things and many wonderful things. You are going to experience joy and pain that you had no hand in creating. And yet, to quote Yoda, experience it you will. So when I say it is on you, I do not mean to say you are in control of all that happens to you and whether you will achieve what you desire. In fact, I think closer to the opposite is true. As an adaptive survival strategy, the human species walks around deluded in thinking that we have much more control than we do. So what do I mean by it's on you? I mean it is you who has to decide who you are going to be, what kind of professional and what kind of human being. That, by the way, is not two things, that is one thing. Your job is to construct a life that has meaning for you and that brings some joy to you. And you have to do this in spite of the fact that there are a lot of things you are not going to control. This simple and obvious truth should be empowering to you. You decide who you are and who you are going to be as a professional, as a human being. Are you going to be Atticus Finch or Saul Goodman? I hope the answer to that is clear. And Jimmy McGill is no relation of mine. To get a little more fine-grained, you decide how you treat everyone you encounter. Your colleagues, your adversaries, your neighbors, your Uber driver, the person who cleans your office at night. You decide what work you do, not to be sure on the minute-by-minute level, but on the macro level of what job you take and whether you will stay or leave a job. You decide how you will spend your free time, what you will think about, what you will care about, what you will read, whether you will try to have children, who you will try to connect with, and yes, whether you get a puppy, which I do recommend. Turning to those many things you are not going to control, you are going to decide how you react to the events and people in your life that bring you joy, as well as the events and people in your life that disappoint you or anger you or hurt or crush you. You, in other words, decide everything that is important to constructing a life of meaning for you. So the simple and obvious truth, I think, is empowering, but it is also bone-chillingly terrifying. For one, there is no script for these choices except the one you write for yourself. There is, in fact, no class called Choosing a Life of Meaning and Joy. If there were, I promise you I would roll in it immediately. I would do every bit of the homework, including the extra credit. I would show up for class. I would prepare a monster outline. I think I could get an A in the class. I don't want to brag. It's Father's Day tomorrow. My dad doesn't like bragging, but I'm pretty good at getting an A. And so are every one of you. But that is not how it works. You've been in class for this all of your life. You were a student of those who raised you and of every experience you have had. You have learned from all of that, and there is no one else who can give you a syllabus or a grade in this class. It's on you means you create the syllabus and you give the grade. Aside from the lack of script that is a little horrifying and scary, it's on you is going to be very, very hard sometimes. Choosing what to think about and how to spend your time, finding the things that have meaning and joy for you, that's going to be hard. Choosing how to react to others who are toxic or angry and to treat them with dignity and respect and understanding, that's going to be hard. Choosing how to respond to disappointment, pain, bad luck, and heartbreak, that's going to be hard. Even choosing to see the meaning and the joy and the pleasure that is right in front of your nose, that can actually sometimes be hard. And choosing to stick to your values, in the moments where it's hardest, that's going to be hard. I know this is getting a little down, but stay with me. We're going to make a turn. Before I make the turn, let me underscore one last thing about it's on you. It's really easy to forget that. You have to think about it and you have to work on it every single day. You have to pursue it aggressively at the top of your to-do list, or it can slip away. You can forget because you can float along, busy and distracted by the everyday tasks that fill minutes, days, months, and years of a life, by Facebook or Netflix, and by venting and being outraged at the world. Or you can forget because you're trying to please some other teacher or some other status hierarchy that someone else has defined that might give you an A. One of the biggest challenges, I think, is just to remember every single day, it's on you. To help you, I made this just 3 words. If you're kind of formal, you could say it's 4. It is on you. It's going to be much harder to remember than you think. So IOY for short. It's on you. Now here's the real turn. Let me remind you that you've learned some things here that I think should help you along the way. I know that you have great role models in your life, people who've set lives of meaning and pleasure and joy for them. But let me focus on 2 things you learned because you've been in law school and had a certain kind of training that I think can help you as you construct a professional and personal life that has meaning for you. But of course, IOY. You have been given a great gift of being educated into a profession where our most basic obligation is to another, not ourselves. Important things follow from that basic fact. A lawyer acts in service to another, not to herself. A lawyer must be fueled by a curiosity and a desire to understand the perspectives and experiences of her client. And she must not only understand her client, but she must endeavor to understand her client well enough to represent her perspectives, her interests, and her experiences to others within the bounds of the law. Focusing on and being curious about and trying to understand and advocate for another, that is a requirement of legal representation, but it's just as important as a way to be a human being. Self-absorption, self-involvement, being unable to see the perspective of others, in fact, having no curiosity at all about the perspectives and experiences of others. This is a central fact of the human animal, and it is a central flaw. I have no doubt that this level of self-interest and involvement promoted survival of our species. When our predecessors were chased by predators on the savannah, our predecessors are not supposed to stop and try to understand the experience and the perspective of the predator. But we're not being chased by the predator anymore. And even so, from the very moment we recognize ourselves in the mirror, which is about 15 to 18 months, we are our favorite topic. We are convinced that we are the center of the universe, that the world revolves around us, that our thoughts, our experiences, and our story is central. That is one of our biggest human failings, and it is the source of grief, heartache, and pain for ourselves and for many around us. To state the obvious, it is no way to live together in a household, a community, a nation, or a world. But you actually have a leg up. You have been schooled in a profession that takes as its central starting position the obligation to understand and to represent others, to step into their shoes, to have curiosity about and an obligation to understand others' experiences and to advocate for them with that understanding. So hold tight to that, because I think it could be a key aspect of creating a life of meaning and joy. Of course, IOY. You have a second gift, I think, one that's related to the first point about what flows from the lawyer's obligation to understand and represent another, but it's more about the larger institutions within which that obligation sits. You've been educated in a profession that has at its heart a very noble principle, a commitment to structured, peaceful ways of resolving disputes, whether they be the courtroom, the legislature, or the Constitutional Convention. This commitment is emphatically a rejection of and a substitute for alternative ways of resolving disputes. A commitment to rule of law is a rejection of force, violence, repression, and the use of other forms of power to resolve disputes. A society that respects rule of law uses it as a check both on government and on the power of private individuals or groups. So it's no accident at all that when a military coup takes over, one of the first things they do is dissolve the courts and other legal constraints on the state. It's also no accident that in the absence of functioning legal systems or other forms of dispute resolution, the physically and economically powerful, the brutal, and the clever dominate others by force, violence, and repression. That commitment to peaceful mechanisms of dispute resolution that is at the heart of a commitment to law is most important when the differences between people or between people and the state are greatest and most passionately held. It is when those differences are greatest and the most profound that there is a temptation to turn to force, violence, or the gulag as a way to change society. But nested in that commitment to a rule of law is a commitment to making those who want to see change, fundamental change, have access to the same dispute resolution mechanisms. Those who see evil and injustice in the legal and political order must have access to those tools for change. In a system that has a functioning dispute resolution mechanism, advocates for change don't take up machetes. They don't send their enemies to the gulag. They present arguments about what law and justice require in a system of dispute resolution. I think that relates to constructing a life of meaning and purpose because of an opportunity I think you clearly have ahead of you, one that you have to decide what to do about. We're in a governance crisis worldwide. Faith in all institutions, including those institutions designed to mediate and to channel and to resolve our disputes, is at an all-time low. Our collective commitment to peaceful resolution of deeply held disputes seems especially fragile right now. We urgently need people like you to make a difference for us, and you're ready for it, given your education and your talent. At this moment, you have an opportunity to make a profound difference in the world if that's what you choose to do. Of course, IOY. So let me take this away from the national or the global stage. Some of you, I hope, will try to run our country. We'll try to work in other parts of the world to shore up peaceful ways of resolving disputes over violence. We need you to have that ambition. But even if that's not your ambition, or not your ambition right now, you're going to have so many opportunities to step in and create possibilities for people to talk to one another, to understand one another, and to resolve their deeply held disputes. Think of the City Hall meeting where some significant matter is being hotly debated. People have started to yell and interrupt each other. Tensions are incredibly high, and resolution seems hopeless. If the city is lucky, there's a person in that room who can calmly step into the maelstrom. This person can listen to and understand all of those who want to speak. This person can get them to understand one another. And this person might even be able to get them to agree, maybe after a waiting period, about how to resolve the deep disagreement and dispute they have in a way that doesn't involve force, here, yelling. I think your training has prepared you to be that person, and goodness knows we need you. If that's what you choose in your family, in your workplace, in your community, in our nation, or in the world, we're all going to be better for it. So let me leave you with this. I think you have been given some gifts that can help you construct a life of meaning and joy, but it's on you. It is your job to construct that life. Try to remember every day that it's on you, and do remember that all of us assembled here know that you are up to it. It starts right now.